There's nothing quite like walking barefoot in the grass. But what about the grocery store? My next guest has been barefoot for 12 years in Canada. After being laid off after her 20-year corporate career, she sought out a hard reset on life. And her journey took her on a literal journey to Spain, to the Camino de Santiago in the winter. She trekked a total of 500 miles, which is 800 kilometers, on foot with shoes. And she not only came back with a clearer head, but a desire to connect more deeply with nature. Today, she's going to share why she made the switch from high heels to bare heels and how dirtier feet might just make for happier humans. Viral TikToker, rewilding coach, shoe obsessed to shoeless, Sue Regan Kinney. Had a little Freudian slip there. You're Sue obsessed. I'm Sue obsessed with you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be Sue obsessed or by you.
So your barefoot journey really started like intuitively one day. You were walking in the forest. And what made you go from, you know what, I'm going to take this walk in the forest barefoot and put my feet on this rock to I'm going to be barefoot all the time?
Well, it's interesting because I actually received a message, and I believe that that message came from the great Mother Nature. And the message she gave me was to bring people back to the forest. And at first I thought she meant that she wanted me to be a forest guide or, take people on walks. But then one day I kind of got it. And that's the day I took my shoes and socks off. I put my feet on the rock, and this charge of Kundalini energy went right through my body, out my crown chakra. And I was the laughing Buddha because I got it. I just got that I'm supposed to be barefoot in the world. And then it just kind of evolved into a clear understanding that it's really my life work.
What does Kundalini energy mean? Forgive me, I'm not really familiar with that.
Well, we just have sort of energy centers throughout our body. And when we connect with an extremely powerful energy, then it resonates at every level, like starting from your root chakra all through your chakras. And your crown chakra is the top of your head. So it goes through the entire body and just out into the universe.
I see. Okay, I have so many questions, especially about the barefootness. And I think the most pressing one that a lot of people are going to want to ask right away, especially because you are in Canada, is how often are you actually barefoot, especially this time of year, early spring, and especially in the winter?
Yes, it is. It is an odd season, winter, to be barefoot. But I am, to answer your question, I'm barefoot whenever I can be. Today, for example, I went into a store and they asked me to put shoes on because they have a policy, a health and safety policy, which there is no law against barefooting in this country. And I had to go out and put my shoes on. But I don't like putting shoes on. And even in the winter, I love the sensation of snow. And that brings up a really good point that I just want to mention right now. And that is that we can't think of barefooting as pain or discomfort. I really encourage people that I teach about barefooting to think of it as a sensation. You're just feeling something unusual, something that maybe we've been conditioned to believe it isn't good for us or conditioned to believe it's uncomfortable. But really, once you get to understand why those sensations are important, then you just want to do it all the time.
So if there's no policy in Canada and there's no policy in the US under like the health code for being barefoot in a place, where do you think the no shoes, no service policy comes from?
Just to clarify, in the States, there is one state, and I can't remember what it is right now. I should know, but there is one state where there is a health code. But basically, almost everywhere you can go barefoot. The reason that people have this idea actually goes back to the 60s when we had lots of hippies around. And the thing is, people didn't want hippies in their stores. So what they did was they put up a sign that said no shoes, no shirt, no service. And it kept the hippies out. And if you think about it, they were mostly men because women wouldn't be directed to not have no shirt. It probably would have been a blouse or something like that at that time. And so what happened over time was people kept the signs up and it discriminated against hippies. And now today there are still signs up all over the North America that say no shoes, no shirt, no service. And it really doesn't mean anything. It's not a law. It's not a policy. It's something from 60 years ago, 60 odd years ago. And we still are, abiding to it. It's disgusting, actually.
That is so interesting. Well, if you ever come to the Florida Panhandle, you'll see signs that say no shirt, no shoes, who cares?
Oh, I love it. Okay, I'll come.
So we're a bit more relaxed, especially the closer to the beach that you get. And I've found that in other beach towns too. So I think maybe there's more hippies there. Who knows?
Maybe.
But as far as physical benefits, what have you seen improvement-wise for yourself when you made that transition, especially in the beginning, from corporate high heel wearing Sue to barefoot Sue? What kind of physical benefits did you see?
Well, right off the top, rather, my feet didn't hurt anymore. All the ladies know we wear heels. They look good. They look sexy. They make our legs look fantastic, and all those things that we've been conditioned to believe. And of course, your feet hurt. As soon as I got out of my heels, I realized I didn't have sore feet anymore. And also, the more you walk barefoot, the more the muscles in your legs get used. So then they tone really nicely and your ankles get thinner and your feet look stronger and your arches raise up so that you have these, beautiful looking feet, the way feet are supposed to look. And you don't even have to wear shoes. The other benefit that I saw right away was connecting with the earth. And most people know something or a little bit about grounding or earthing. But there's something else that's so important, and that is that my brain started to work better and my entire body started to work better. The reason being is that you have at least 200,000 sensory receptors, nerve receptors on the sole of each foot. And these receptors are responsible for identifying the environment that your feet are in and your body is in. And then they send the message to the brain via neural pathways. And then the brain orchestrates the whole body and says, okay, well, you know what? She's stepping on snow right now. Maybe we better send more warm blood down to her feet and keep them warm. And so instead of me having to put socks on to keep my feet warm, I just have to go out in the snow when my feet are cold, go out in the snow for a little bit, come back in, and for the next 4 hours, I have warm feet.
What? That seems so counterintuitive. Was that immediate, or did it take a while to reboot your brain to have that benefit?
It took me a while. I would say I had to go through 4 seasons here in Canada. So when I went through 4 seasons, then I started to really understand the importance of these sensations. So I always say, never think of pain. As I said earlier, don't think of barefooting as painful. They're just sensations, and each one of them are going to your brain. So the benefit was that my brain was being used. It was being exercised, and my memory improved, and my whole body, my alignment straightened out. So instead of me tipping forward a little bit like I always did in heels and shoes, I was actually now sitting back and dropping into my body and opening up my chest so I could breathe easier. It just has so many benefits. It's hard to pick them all out.
I mean, I really expected you to say, oh, my back stopped hurting or something like that. But I did not expect you to say improved mental function and breathing function. That is so fascinating. What does your doctor say about all of this when you go for a visit?
Well, I have...
Well,
I don't go that often to medical doctors. I'm just not, I go if there's a medical problem, like a scientific medical problem. But yes, when I first went to my nurse practitioner, actually, she was fascinated by it, but they really don't have any understanding of it. It's not taught. Even podiatrists don't have an understanding of it. It's just not taught in their education, sadly.
So yeah. I've heard about one podiatrist that is on board with it, but definitely counterintuitive for the orthotics and all of the advice, which it kind of leads me to some practical questions because I've been on some, I don't know, we'll say I'm on a journey for barefootness, at least
Yeah,
experimenting with it, because that's the cool thing about meeting amazing people like you is it just allows me a new perspective and new things to try. And so I've been trying it. And so if you don't mind, I have some real pragmatic questions for you that maybe our listeners are thinking about as well. And the first one is the house. How do you keep your floors clean when you go in and out of the house without shoes? Because typically you would leave your shoes at the door and then walk barefoot in the home. But in my case, I don't have a driveway. It's mostly sandy soil. We don't even really have that much grass because of all the trees. So it's hard
yeah.
with shoes. How are you doing that? Because I'm sure you experienced a similar challenge.
Absolutely. And really, I wash my feet a lot. That's the thing. I wash my feet almost, not quite, but almost as much as I wash my hands. The other thing to consider is that how many times do you wash the inside of your shoes? The majority of people don't. So bacteria grows in a nice, hot and sweaty environment. And so you have a lot of bacteria already in the inside of your shoes. So whether you're barefoot in your shoe or whether you're wearing socks, when you take your shoes off at the door, you're not leaving the bacteria behind. Some bacteria is good for us. And, it's not all bad. It helps to build our immune system. I think that the key is to just recognize when you've been outdoors and you've been where it's dirty or you really want to wash your feet. You just feel like you need to wash your feet. And that's basically what I do. And I wash my feet before I go to bed every night. It becomes a part of your
Okay.
ritual.
And I usually wash my feet in the bathtub. Do you, but sometimes when we are going in and out of the beach a lot, we'll put a pedicure tub with water outside and just kind of dip our feet in to get the sand off. Do you have any other hacks like that to keep systems that are working for you that might also work for someone who's, listening to you right now going, oh, I'm going to try that too. But I wouldn't want them to get caught up on these details. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. The thing is, when you start barefooting, you notice your environment. And so, for example, if I'm walking on cement, which I don't like at all, or pavement, then I will often go off and walk on the grass. When you walk on the grass, it kind of wipes your feet clean. But then if you step in mud, your feet get dirty again. Or if you step in, I don't know, whatever. But the idea is to look at your environment. If there's a puddle on a street, I'm jumping in the puddle because it washes my feet. I'm using whatever nature presents to me, whatever life presents to me. I'm using that to keep my feet clean. And then sometimes there are situations where it just doesn't work. And I might have to go into a public washroom and use it. And then what I'll do often is I'll take some paper towel, from the public washroom and just wipe the bottom of my feet before I leave or outside the door. But only if I feel really uncomfortable.
Okay. And, have always read that part of foot care is to remove the calluses off of your feet. I'm assuming you don't do that.
I would never do that. I love my feet and I love the bottom of my feet. I worked hard to get that skin. Well, and I should just say to you that people think that barefooters have lots of callus.
Uh-huh.
And actually, you get callus from shoes, from rubbing. What happens is you get a tougher skin, but that skin is really soft. If I walk on grass or I'm in water, you know what it's like when you're in water and you come out, your feet are nice and soft.
Right.
That's what it's like. That's what it's like when you walk in the rain. It's amazing. Your feet are like the palm of your hand. They're so beautiful. But then if you're, if I'm running in the forest and I'm on rock or I'm on pavement, then I want that tougher skin to come out. The skin on the bottom of your feet adapts to whatever environment it is in. It's unlike any other skin on your body. It's there to protect you.
It's crazy how foreign all of what you're saying feels to me. And I've, done a couple of weeks ahead of time of kind of diving into this subject, but it's really going back to nature, which I would love for you to talk about the rewilding stuff. You're a rewilding coach. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And I was hoping that you could share more about what that process looks like and why it's beneficial.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. Rewilding really started in nature, where people started to take over land or forests and allow them to rewild back to their natural way so that we didn't need any human intervention. And so rewilding our feet is like our feet have been domesticated. We've basically taken a perfectly good working anatomy, part of our anatomy, and domesticated it. And now that it's domesticated, we have to take care of it. We have to make sure it's warm. We have to make sure our feet are protected. And it just becomes a hassle. When we rewild our feet, what we're doing is we're going back to the natural way, to the way the body was designed, the brain was designed, those neural pathways were designed to take care of us and keep us safe. We just want to go back to that, and then we don't have to intervene. Often I say to people, I'm basically a lazy person. If there's an easy way to get somewhere, I'll find it. Barefooting is the easy way to not have to think about what do I have to do to take care of my feet. I know that they will take care of me.
And it seems like the feet take care of the rest of the body, which is a much different mindset, because I know definitely in the United States, we have a very prescriptive model for pretty much everything. So like if you have X ailment, you take Y drug or do Y solution. The holistic model, some people are subscribe to that, but generally everything's prescriptive. If you have this problem, you need this solution, and it's 1-to-1. But you're saying allowing our feet to rewild is 1-to-many?
And it's a holistic approach to our health because 1/4 of all the muscles in our body are in our feet. So if you want to just get a good workout, if you don't even want to think about the health benefits, just get a good workout and create your foundation as a strong foundation, you can do that. But it's absolutely, I think, the fundamental number one natural biohack that we have, that all humans have. And it's free and it's easy and anyone can do it, just about anyone.
Have you heard the theory? I think it's called evolution mismatch theory. Does that ring a bell at all?
No, I don't think so.
I was just curious if it, because when you were talking about how we've domesticated our feet and then it's caused all these other problems, there's a theory out there, and I don't know much about it. I was just curious if it was part of what you've studied. But the theory is that the pace of our manufactured society has outpaced our evolutionary function, and that a lot of our modern ailments are due to this mismatch of pace. So the technology and the way of life has, in a way, outpaced our natural ability to function in homeostasis.
And that makes perfect sense because when we don't use something in our body, it atrophies. So if we don't use the muscles in our feet, then they're going to atrophy. If we don't use our arch and instead wear shoes with arch support, when the arch is a spring, it's supposed to spring, and now we have arch support stopping it from springing, then it atrophies. When we don't use those neural pathways to our brain, they atrophy. And so what happens is we can be completely dependent on outside forces to keep us going. So yeah, that would definitely make sense.
Did you find that there's any potential injuries that people can have who do have foot atrophy who are trying to rewild their feet that they should be aware of going into it in order to not injure themselves? Like, forgive me, but what are the baby steps? See what I did there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of rewilding. Sorry, I'll be excused. I'll excuse myself. But what are the baby steps of rewilding your feet, but also avoiding injury if you've lived your whole life since you were a toddler in shoes?
Yes, exactly. The thing is to go slowly. Take it one step at a time. Start off indoors. You don't need slippers, sandals, shoes, socks. You don't need anything indoors. Even in Canada, even in the snow, you can stay indoors. You'll live. You won't. Nothing will happen. Start indoors and get yourself used to it, and spend as much time as you can thinking about the sensations that you are experiencing. Once you start to connect your brain to your feet and those sensations, and you start working the neural pathways, your brain is going to tell you when you're about to step on something that's not safe. It begins to actually, your feet start to see, kind of like, it's like my feet have eyes. They're about, I would say, 1 foot outside of each foot. So when I'm coming up to something sharp now, my feet will recognize that there's something in the way or something sharp. That takes 12 years. That took me 12 years to get to that point. But what you can do at the very beginning is notice those sensations and then be aware of them. Look where you're walking and do not ever heel strike. So when we wear shoes, they're designed for us to heel strike, and that goes all the way up our back. And it's no wonder we have back and neck problems, as we mature. What you want to do is drop your foot down. It's called a mid strike. So either right on the ball of your foot or just in the middle, wherever that is for you. But drop the ball down first, then the heel follows, and then we push off. And that, as long as you do that, you're going to be fine.
Are the special shoes that you developed part of that transition, or are they more so to help you get into places that require shoes?
When I first started barefooting, I was embarrassed to go into stores barefoot. Like, I wasn't who I am today. Now I'm fine. I'll go anywhere. But I was really embarrassed because they kept throwing me out of stores and restaurants, and people kept commenting and they would laugh at me. And it was like, it was a big deal. What I did was I decided that I would fool society and make a pair of shoes that don't have a sole, but look like I'm wearing something on my feet so that they would just leave me alone. I called them bare bottom shoes, and really they don't really have a function except that there's a strap around your arch, and it makes you feel really, really comfortable, because in reflexology, it touches the area where your solar plexus is, and that's where you feel fear. And so it helps you to feel a little more comfortable. And people have told me, I didn't design them for that, but that's how it ended up being. And so you just get this comfort feeling and you're a little more brave.
Do you have them to show?
I have this little foot mold. Okay. This is what they look like from the front. And this is one side. And then on the other side. And then the bottom is the ball of your foot and the heel of your foot and your toes are completely bare. And they're made of neoprene. So you just they're stretchy. You just slip them on. And the thing is that there was some research done back in the 70s, believe it or not, when the hippies were being thrown out of stores. And the research proved that as human beings, when we're walking along somewhere, we're using our peripheral vision to check on the people around us. And we check off, oh, do they look normal? Do they look safe? Oh, are they wearing shoes? That's one of the things that we check off in our mind. So what happens is people see this and they think we're wearing shoes, maybe a flip-flop. They think we're wearing a heel, so then they just check it off and don't bother you when you go into the store.
Interesting. Okay, I like that.
It's a little It's a little trick to society.
Well, I like that because I ran some errands this weekend and I thought about going barefoot and I was like, oh no. And I felt hesitant, even though I went to
I
Walmart
get it.
where honestly, Walmart in the South, you could go barefoot and probably no one blink an eye at you, but I still
Yeah.
wasn't feeling so comfortable about that. So, well, as we wrap up, can you think of any more beginner tips for people who would like to rewild their feet that you want to share, or any just tips to reconnect with nature in order to be rewild themselves?
Yeah. I think the biggest tip I can give is try it. Just try it. If you want to go out in your backyard or someplace where you're not exposed to other people, and give it a try, and then keep doing it. Don't stop, because if you just do it once, it might make you giggle or laugh, or it's okay. But if you keep doing it, then you're going to start to experience the benefits. And the experience is so much more than what you can read in a book or what you can read up about earthing and grounding and all of that. It's a powerful connection with the world and with all of nature. And we are nature. We are a part of that oneness. But I just encourage people to give it a try, and try to do it more than once. And when people, I'll just say the other thing, because people will ask you, why are you doing that? Like, aren't you worried about getting germs, or you're going to step on a needle?
Right,
Like,
right,
I
yeah.
don't,
Because there's
like,
so many
I don't
needles
want.
in my backyard.
Exactly. And there's so much glass in your backyard, and there's so much, like, there's all this fear. No, no, no. Just pay attention to where you're walking, notice your surroundings, notice the sensations, and then your brain is going to love you for noticing the sensations. It's going to go, hey, she's back. Wow. Like, let's have some fun with this. And it creates a whole other relationship with your brain and your body and your soul, even.
I love that. I'm going to be trying it. So we'll keep in touch. I'll keep you updated on how my journey
Great.
goes. How can everyone keep in touch with you? And especially, how do they purchase the shoes if they would want to get some of those for themselves?
Oh, so the shoes are called bare bottom shoes, but they're on my website, which is suekenny.com, and Kenny is Keney. They can also reach me on Instagram. I'm Camino Sue there, and I'm Barefoot Sue, kind of all over the place. You can find Barefoot Sue. Just Google it, and you'll see me barefooting.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. This was awesome.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you've been trying it and doing it, and you've asked some really great questions. I know your audience is going to love this.
Hey, you're still here. That's awesome. I hope to see you next week too. I talk with the most interesting people that you've probably never heard of. Most of them are paradoxical and bring an opportunity for you to grow as a person. So if you like bright, meaningful entertainment, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications.